everyone. I'm Jess, your Amerlin Seat, and welcome to the Amerlin Study. This evening we are going to be doing Chapter 1 of The Eye of the World, and I've decided that I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now, I have ADHD, and that means that I need to be doing something with my hands in order to pay attention. And last time I was playing with my phone, and I thought, okay, well, that's kind of lame. So I decided that I am going to do needlepoint while I am listening and commenting along with you. This evening, I will be working on this lovely sampler. It says, "True friends are never apart, maybe in distance, but never in heart." So cute. I actually, because I'm a big nerd about grandma activities, I have a subscription to this place that sends you a sampler pattern every month. And they send you everything you need, including whatever you need to like frame it and actually finish it. It's really awesome. And so I have a bunch of these backed up that I have not worked on, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to get cracking on those. And then I was thinking, and tell me what you think about this in the comments. I thought maybe I could sell them and donate the proceeds to charity. So if that's something that you all think would be cool, if you want to get a gift for somebody, or if there's something that I'm doing that you like, let me know if that's something that you think would be a good idea. So that's the plan for this evening, and without further ado, I think that we should go ahead and get started. Oh wait, I was going to do all of the business stuff at the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and make sure that you hit the little bell so that you get notified when new content comes up. If you want to follow me on social, you can find me at Amerlin Study on Twitter and Instagram. And if you like what I'm doing and you want to support me, you can find me at amerlin.study/Patreon. All right, now we're going to get started.
Chapter 1. An Empty Road.
Spoopy.
The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend.
Fucking iconic.
Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age, called the Third Age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a wind rose in the mountains of mist. The wind was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time. But it was a beginning. The wind blew east out across the sand hills, once the shore of a great ocean before the breaking of the world. Down it flailed into the two rivers, into the tangled forest called the Westwood, and beat at two men walking with a cart and horse down the rock-strewn track.
That's assault, brother.
The quarry road. The wind carried an icy chill as if it would rather bear snow.
That's a fucking
Gusts
mood.
plastered Randall Thor's cloak. He wished his coat were heavier, or that he had worn an extra shirt. Half the time when he tried to tug the cloak back around him, it caught on the quiver swinging at his hip. He felt a little foolish about wanting to reassure himself that Tam was still there. But it was that kind of day.
The kind of day where your dad would disappear?
When it rose, but aside from that, where sunlight did reach, it held neither strength nor warmth. The pale sun set above the trees to the east, but it must have been harsher still in the mountains if the number of wolves driven down into the two rivers was any guide.
Oh no, wolves!
Wolves raided the sheep pens and chewed their way into barns to get the cattle and horses.
Hey, I'm sorry, that's just fucking rude.
Bears had been after the sheep too, where a bear had not been seen in years.
Also rude.
Men were the prey as often as sheep, and the sun did not always have to be down.
Oh no, man-eating wolves!
Tam was taking steady strides on the other side of Bella, using his spear as a walking staff. Flapped like a banner.
He's carrying a spear?
Now and again, he touched the mare's flank lightly to remind her to keep moving.
I never noticed that.
With his thick chest and broad face, he was a pillar of reality in that morning.
Pillar
like
of
a
zaddy.
stone in the middle of a drifting... But there was a solidness to him, as though a flood could wash around him without uprooting his feet.
Mm-hmm.
He stumped down the road, now Wolves and bears were all very well, his manner said, but they had best not try to stop Tam Thor getting to Emmonsfield.
Fuck right.
With a guilty start, Rand returned to watching his side of the road, Tam's matter-of-factness reminding him of his task.
Yeah, pay attention, bud.
Gray eyes and the reddish tinge to his hair came from his mother, so Tam said. She had been an outlander, and Rand remembered little of her aside from a smiling face, though he did put flowers on her grave every year at Beltane in the spring. 2 small casks of Tam's apple brandy rested in the lurching cart, and 8 larger barrels of apple cider, only slightly hard after a winter's curing.
Tam knows how to party.
Tam delivered, and he had declared that it would take more than wolves or a cold wind to stop him this spring.
Hell yeah.
Rand was just glad to get away from the farm. Almost as glad as about the coming of Beltane.
That part just hits different right now, doesn't it? Like, Rand has cabin fever, can't wait to get out the house. Dude, same. Y'all, I've been stuck in my house for a year. I've been working from home for a whole year. So, yeah, I do not blame Rand for wanting to get out the house.
Feeling grew in him that he was being watched.
Creepy.
For a while he tried to shrug it off, but the feeling not only persisted, it grew stronger. The hairs on his arms stirred. Not more than 20 spans back down the road, a cloaked figure on horseback followed them. Horse and rider alike black, dull, and ungleaming.
That's why you always trust your gut.
The rider's cloak covered him to his boot tops. The cowl tugged well forward so no part of him showed.
The king of the Nazgul.
Vaguely ran, but he felt hatred as sharply as if he could see a snarling face. Hatred for everything that lived. Hatred for him most of all.
That's a real attitude problem.
All things. And only an outthrust hand grabbing Bella's harness saved him from falling flat on his back. With a startled snort, the mare stopped. "Are you all right, lad?"
No.
The rider. The road behind was empty.
Oh.
Disbelieving, he stared into the forest on both sides of the road. "I wouldn't doubt your word, lad. But where has he gone?" "I don't know. But he was there." He snatched up a fallen bow and arrow. Abruptly, Rand realized what had been odd about the horseman, aside from his being there at all. The wind that beat at Tam and him had not so much as shifted a fold of that black cloak. His mouth was suddenly dry. He peered into the woods around them. It looked different than it ever had before. Almost since he was old enough to walk, he had run loose in the forest. The ponds and streams of Riverwood. Little heathen. And once he had even gone to the very foot of the Mountains of Mist.
Ooh.
Him and his closest friends, Mat Cauthon and Perrin Ibarra.
Squad.
There was a lot further to them. A journey to the next village, up to Watch Hill or down to Devon Ride, was a big event.
Also hits
Nowhere
different right
in all
now.
Of that had he found a place that made him afraid. You're probably right. No point looking for what isn't there. Not when we can use the time getting on to the village and out of this wind.
Follow your gut, my dude.
And I expect you're eager to see Egwene. Rand managed a weak smile.
A girl.
He was hoping his father had not noticed he was afraid when Tam said, "Remember the flame, lad, and the void." It was an odd thing Tam had taught him. Become one with the void, Tam said, and you could do anything.
That is a really excellent meditation.
Nobody else in Emmonsfield talked that way. But Tam won the archery competition at Beltane every year with his flame and his void. Rand
so the proof is in the pudding.
He might have a chance of placing this year himself. He wanted to believe that Tam was right, that the rider had just been his imagination. But he could remember that feeling of hatred too well.
Trust your
There
gut.
had been someone. The land sloped gently down to the east. Though not without patches of woods, farms and hedge-bordered fields and pastures quilted the land beyond the village, all the way to the Waterwood.
Sounds
and
idyllic,
its tangle
doesn't
of
it?
streams and ponds. But only a handful of farms could be found in the Westwood. Some said the land was too rocky, as if there were not rocks everywhere in the two rivers. And others said it was hard luck land.
Hard luck land is like the worst
Whatever
amusement park ever.
Only the hardiest men farmed in the Westwood. In the last months, there had been little of play or laughter from the children. It seemed the approach of Beltane had taught them how to play again.
Well, that's nice.
Festival had affected the adults as well. Broad shutters were thrown back, and in almost every house, the good wife stood in a window, shaking sheets or hanging mattresses over the windowsills.
That's when it gets up to 50 degrees in
On
Wisconsin.
the trees, most of the men rolled their shoulders and said, "Well, we'll survive, the light willing." Some grinned and added, "And if the light doesn't will, we'll still survive."
I like that.
That was the way of most Two Rivers people. Tam would not have stopped for Whit Conger if the man had not come out into the street, so they had to halt or let Bella run him over. The Congers and the Coplans, the two families were so intermarried no one really knew where one family led off and the other began.
Ew.
Were known from Watch Hill to Devon Ride as complainers and troublemakers. "I have to get this to Bran Elvire, Whit," Tam said, nodding to the barrels in the cart.
I don't have time for your
The scrawny
bullshit,
man
Whit.
held his ground with a sour expression on his face. What are we going to do about Nynaeve, Althor? Conger demanded. We can't have a wisdom like that for Emond's Field. Now you ask her what she hears in the wind, and she just scowls at you and stomps off. If you asked her the way you usually do, Wit, Tam said patiently, you're lucky she didn't thump you with that stick she carries.
No, I should start carrying a thumping stick.
Nynaeve Almira is just too young to be a wisdom, Althor.
Ageist.
If the women's circle won't do something, then the village council has to.
Oh, mind your fucking business.
What business of yours is the wisdom, Wit Conger?
Oh.
Roared a woman's voice. When they saw Tam, the good wives of Emond's Field went on point like hounds spotting a rabbit. There was not one of them who did not know just the perfect wife for a widower with a good farm.
They know he's zaddy.
Bran stepped along just as quickly as Tam, perhaps even more so. Herded onto a stool by the kitchen fire, he would be fed pastries or honey cakes or meat pies.
Could be worse.
And always, Tam needed a good woman. It was a simple fact, she would say, or something very close, that a man just could not do without a woman to take care of him and keep him out of trouble.
I don't know.
Worst
Tam
of all
seems to
were
be
those
doing
who
fine.
paused thoughtfully at about that point. Outsiders sometimes found it funny that the road had one name to the north and another to the south. But that was the way it had always been, as far as anyone in Emond's Field knew, and that was that.
It's like that around here all the
It was a good enough
time.
reason for Two Rivers people. On the far side of the bridges, the mounds were already building for the Beltane fires. 3 careful stacks of logs almost as big as houses. They had to be on
Shit,
cleared dirt,
yeah.
of course, not on the green. In the morning, the men would pretend to be surprised to find the pole. Then at noon, the unmarried women would dance the pole, entwining it with long colored ribbons while the unmarried men sang.
I like
day
the
of
whole
Beltane
nod
would
to
be
the
taken up with
maypole
singing
thing.
and dancing and feasting. Everyone could use a little singing and dancing, and to top everything, if the rumors could be believed, a grand display of fireworks was planned for the green.
Ooh.
If the first peddler of the year appeared in time, of course. The Wine Spring Inn stood at the east end of the green, hard beside the wagon bridge. The first floor of the inn was river rock, though the foundation was of older stone some said came from the mountains. The whitewashed
Interesting.
second story, and smoke drifted from 3 of the inn's dozen tall chimneys.
So many chimneys.
At the south end of the inn, away from the stream, stretched the remains of a much larger stone foundation, once part of the inn, or so it was said.
Also
A
interesting.
huge oak grew in the middle of it now, with a bole 30 paces around and spreading branches as thick as a man.
It's a big fucking tree.
In the summer, Branelvir set tables and benches under those branches, shady with leaves then, where people could enjoy a cup and a cooling breeze while they talked, or perhaps set out a board for a game of stones. Tam reached for
A fucking
Bella's
beer
harness,
garden.
but
That's
she
what that
stopped
is.
in front of the inn before his hand touched
Nice.
leather. Branalvir appeared from the inn, seeming as always to step too lightly for a man of his girth, nearly double that of anyone else in the village.
So,
But that night was winter night, the night before Beltane, when everyone would visit back and forth almost the whole night long, exchanging small gifts, having a bite to eat and a touch to drink at every house.
well, that sounds like fun and a good way to
After the
get
winter,
fucking
Bran
trashed.
thought. Bran harumphed. I could wish
Harumph,
somebody wanted to
harumph,
talk about
harumph.
something besides the weather. Everyone complains about it, and folk who should know better expect me to set it right. I've just spent 20 minutes explaining to Mistress Aldonal that I can do nothing about the storks.
Aren't storks on the roof like a Dutch thing? I feel like I remember when I was a kid, there was a book about, and I swear to God it was in Holland, where they had to put wagon wheels on the roof so that the storks could make nests on them. Am I nuts? I mean, probably. I'm probably nuts, but I remember.
By next winter, there may be nothing left alive in the Two Rivers but wolves and ravens.
It's a real ray
If
of
it is next
sunshine,
winter
huh?
at all, maybe it will still be this winter. Now, what is that supposed to mean?
Maybe it'll be
Bran
your
said
mother's
sharply.
butt, Sen.
Sen gave them a sour look. I've not much good to say about Nynaeve Elmira. You know that. For one thing,
Shock.
she's too young to... No matter. The women's circle seems to object to the village council even talking about their business.
Well, yeah,
Though
because
they
y'all
interfere in
sexist.
ours whenever they want to, which is most of the time, or so it seems to... Sen, Tam broke in, is there a point to this? This is the point, Althor. Maybe it's just going to go on being winter until the wheel turns and the age ends. There's your point. Maybe sheep will fly, Tam retorted, and Bran threw up his hands.
Burn.
Come on, Rand, while they're arguing, before they put you to work. Rand glanced down and had to grin. Matt Cawthon crouched beside the cart
There he
so Tam
is.
and Bran and Sen could not see him. Dav and I caught a big old badger, all grouchy at being pulled out of his den. We're going to let it loose on the green and watch the girls run. Rand's smile broadened.
Honestly,
It did not
this is
sound as
just
much
like
fun
I
to him
fucking
as
love
it would
this
have a year
kid.
or two back, but Matt never seemed to grow up. I promised to unload the cider. I can meet you later, though.
You fucking square.
Matt
Just
rolled
go.
his eyes skyward. Toting barrels? Burn me. I'd rather play stones with my baby sister.
You should play stones with your
I
baby
know of better
sister.
things than a badger.
It's nice to hang out with your
We have
siblings.
strangers in the Two Rivers. Last evening... For an instant, Rand stopped breathing. A man on horseback? He asked intently. You saw him too? I thought I was the only one.
Uh-oh.
Don't laugh, Rand, but he scared me. Until that day, he had never thought of anyone wanting to kill him. Really wanting to kill him.
Get used to
That
that,
sort of
bud.
thing just did not happen in the Two Rivers. I actually thought, just for a minute, mind, it might be the Dark One. If he was free, what would the Shepherd of the Night be doing in the Two Rivers watching farm boys?
You'd
I
be
don't know,
surprised.
But I do know that rider was... Why not the Shadow Man while you're about it?
Yeah, why not the
Glared at
Shadow Man?
Dav thinks he's down from Tarn Ferry. A sheep stealer or a chicken thief. A chicken thief! He lapsed into a
chicken
frigid
thief.
silence. There are two of us now. Nobody could believe we both imagined it. Rand rubbed the top of his head briskly, wondering what to say. Matt was something of a byword around the village. Few people had escaped his pranks. His support might be worse than none. After a moment,
That's
Rand
fucking
said,
raw, dude.
Your father would believe you put me up to it. Good morning, Matrim, Tam said brightly, hefting one of the
Busted.
brandy casks up onto the side of the cart. My da sent me to... No doubt he did, Tam said. And no doubt, since you are a lad who does his chores right off, you finished the task already. Well, the quicker you
Bluff
lads get the cider
called.
into Master Alvir's cellar, the quicker you can see the Gleeman. According to Master Alvir, he's in a room in the inn right now. Arrived in the dead of night, he did. The innkeeper shook his head in disapproval. Pounded on the door till he woke the whole family. If not for festival,
Well,
I'd
what
have
was he
told him
supposed
stable
to
his own
do?
horse and sleep in the stall with
Sleep
it.
in the fucking dirt?
Gleeman
Like,
or
come
not.
on. People
No
get
one
there when
traveled
they get
beyond the village
when they
by
get there,
night.
you know?
Not these days. Certainly not alone. His cloak is like every gleeman's cloak I've ever seen. More patches than cloak and more colors than you can think of.
I can't wait to see the
Rand
Gleeman's
startled
cloak.
himself by laughing
in the
out
show.
loud, a laugh of pure relief. If he doesn't come by tomorrow, what are we going to do with them? Hold another festival just to set them off?
I don't see why
That's if
not.
he even brings them, of course. You've as much trust as a Taran ferryman.
Burn.
Where is he then? Tell me that, Althor. Why didn't you tell us? Matt demanded in an aggrieved voice. And if I knew for sure how that rumor started, if I thought, for instance, that somebody had been complaining about how much things cost where people could hear him when the things are supposed to be secret... Sen cleared his throat. My bones are too old for this wind. If you don't mind, I'll just see if Mistress Alvir won't fix me some mulled wine to take the
Convenient
chill off.
arthritis.
Mayor? Althor? Sometimes I think Nynaeve is right about... Well, that's not important now.
Yeah, of course she is.
You young fellas think for a minute. Everyone's excited about the fireworks, true. And that's only at a rumor. Think how they'll be if the peddler doesn't get here in time, after all they're anticipating. They'd be 50 times as excited about a Gleeman. And feel 50 times as bad if he hadn't come, Rand said slowly.
Managing
Even though time might not
expectations,
do
that's
much for
expert
people's
level
spirits
shit.
after that. None of this is unloading the cart, Tam said briskly, handing the first cask of brandy to the mayor. You don't have to help. Dav won't keep that badger long. Oh, why not? Matt said resignedly. Maybe Egwene is around. Watching you stare at her like a poleaxed ox will be as good as a badger any day. Rand paused in the act of putting his bow and quiver in the back of the cart. He really had managed to put Egwene out of his mind. Perhaps she would not be there after all. Oddly, that possibility did not make him feel any better.
Teenage boys. All right. that's the end of chapter 1. That went a lot faster than I expected. So we've met a lot of interesting characters. We've met Rand al'Thor, and we've met Tam al'Thor, his dad. Mystery Man stalking them in the woods. Also stalking other people, apparently. We've met the mayor. We've met, like, a major killjoy in Senbui. Like, that dude, he's a ruiner of fun, is what that dude is. And that's the kind of person, like, they live forever just out of spite. Just so that they can make everybody's life worse. So, yeah, let's check in on the cross-stitch, see how far we've gotten. We've got words. That's fun. You know, one thing that I think is interesting that I never really gave a lot of thought to before was the older foundations on the Winespring Inn. Like, it registered that that was a thing, but I never really put a lot of thought into what exactly that might mean. And so let's think. The inn is built on part of the old foundation, and then there's another part of the foundation that is just there, almost like a fence or like half wall, right? That has a gigantic tree. And now this tree is huge, right? Like the branches are the size of a human person. So that tree is really, really old, is what that means. So the tree started growing after whatever sat on that foundation was destroyed or fell down or whatever. And that happened a long ass time ago because that tree is really, 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 really old. So what that means is there was something in Emond's Field before Emond's Field was there. And that's something that really had not ever kind of registered for me before. So that's kind of interesting. Also really love the idea of fantasy beer garden. I really love that Bran puts out tables outside under the tree for people to hang out when the weather's nice. That's my shit right there. Love me a beer garden. Also, I'm really enjoying the audiobooks because it's kind of like when you were a kid and your parents would read you a story and they would do all the voices. Like, that's what it reminds me of. And it's kind of a good time. I really like it. So, I continue to notice new things, you know, one chapter in, like, hopefully we'll get some more action going. I'm trying to remember what happens in chapter 2, and everything just blends in together. Like, I don't remember what's going to happen. So it's going to be a surprise for everybody, right? So that's good. I also want to see, like, an alternate reality, like a different timeline, an alternate timeline where they actually do something with that badger. Like, I want to see the reality where they let that badger go and let it chase the girls around. I think that would be extremely funny. It makes me sad that never happened, because that'd be some funny shit. Although I do feel bad for the badger. Like, a badger in a sack. Like, you know he's mad as shit. My question is, okay, here's a question. How does the badger stay in the sack? Because fucking badgers have... Okay, first of all, they're mean as hell. Like, how did they catch a badger? First of all. Because a badger will fuck you up. They also have these gigantic fucking claws. Like, how is the badger not clawing his way out of the bag and, like, eating Dav and then running away? That's my other question. Like, I can deal with a magic system. I can deal with, like, the world ending apocalyptic kind of magical shit, but catching a badger, I don't know. That might be where I draw the line. Well, I think I'm going to let you go. Until next time, stay hydrated and watch out for creepy guys following you around in the woods.